the New Zealand Warriors, or the final team we're doing for this episode. So much to talk about again. It's crazy.
Mate.
We did warn you guys that this would be a big one, and it's living up to the hype. And straight away, fullback, Chance Nickel Clockstad. Unfortunately, like he was good, but there was just awkward times where his head knocks and not
Mm.
making a game, which so annoying because I had him for a lot of last year, and it just became. I loved when he was there, but when he wasn't there, and it was sort of felt like there was some crucial times as well when there was like another player in my back line that wasn't in and stuff, and I really
Yeah.
needed him, and it just sort of let me down. So that's the only reason I'm staying clear of him, because if someone said to me that that was their even just their second fullback choice, it's another one of those players where I don't think I could really say too much about. Nah, that's it. Get him out of your team. It's one of those. I can
Mm.
see where you're coming at with
Yeah.
it. Like I can
Oh,
see it.
definitely.
So
Well,
it just scares me.
like talk about the run that the Warriors have to begin with, and
Oh,
you
yeah.
can kind of see the
You
argument to why you want him.
you remind
Like,
me again. I've forgotten
it's
every
all right,
one this episode. So Sharks round 1, Storm round 2, the Raiders are in round 3, the Knights in round 4, and the South Sydney Rabbitohs in round 5.
It's not ideal.
Not ideal, but it's also probably better than the other top 4 teams, I'd say. So it's not
Yeah.
ideal, but it's
How many of those games are at home? I suppose that's the thing that you look at with the Warriors is home game stuff is massive. The Sharks, the Raiders, and the Knights are all home games. So 3 out of the first 5. Um, that kind of dismantles any of that sort of away form or whatever you're going to get out of them. Like a home game for the Warriors is huge. Um,
yeah.
682, yeah, it puts him off the top tier. It puts him in an attainable bracket where you can go for one of the big guys, and he does actually fit the bill for a really nice second fullback. Um,
Mm.
it's what you're going to get. He's going to be the guy. You're not far off Pap for that little bit of a risk play, but um, it's just a risky play in general because he is very prone to concussion.
Yes.
Um, I honestly I can't remember if I had him last year. I think I may have, and I got off really early. But um, yeah, it's sort of a given, unfortunately. Like you really hope it doesn't happen, but I feel like with Shans, it's like when will it happen? Because
Yes.
he just seems to look really battered after a game too. Like he must put it all on the line when he goes out there because he leaves the field looking wrecked. Um, I hope it doesn't happen again. But I really don't mind the play, but I just think it's a lot of coin. 680.
Mm.
Get 2 guns or
Risk.
go for one mid tier. It is risky. Yeah, it is risky. If he was a bit cheaper, I'd be like, if he was 600, guaranteed. I'd like, because you put him and you compare him to the Hammer for 600, and you think, oh, I would probably prefer Shines over the Hammer. But he's
Mm.
not there. He's dearer. He's dearer by a lot. And like 680, when you look at what 680 will get you in the centers, it's
Oh,
massive. It's huge, man. 680 at the center spot's out of control. It's a big points there. So, and if it's not 680, it's 700, and then 700's where all the elites are. So, I wouldn't consider Shans in the elite bracket in general, but for his price, it does put you in elite territory for a lot of other positions. Um,
yeah.
which is kind of what would make me want to spend that on another position and not him.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, as I said, I can't. If someone messages me their team or something and asks us for our opinion, I could never definitely tell them to delete him off
mm,
their team. But yeah, it definitely does come with some warning signs. I think it's or caution signs. It's fair to say. Tomorrow, Martin, I'll just leave and probably talk about him in the 5/8 because that's where I think he will become possibly an option. He has the fullback duel, but I don't think anyone's picking him as a fullback, so there's no point really bringing that up there. Center wings is where, again, it's very interesting. Straight up, Dallin Wateni-Zelezniak. Met him a few times and I have chatted to him quite a bit last year and love the form he was showing. A big question is, can he continue it? And that's probably a question we can say to a lot of these Warriors players because last year, I think a lot of people still are treading cautiously about the Warriors, going, "Oh, Can they do it again? I
Mm,
personally am a massive fan of the Warriors this year. I actually have them just think I think they can almost go all the way. Like, I am really on the Warriors this
it's
year
ambitious.
again, but I can understand why people are a little bit, "Oh, I don't know." So, um, 719 though is just too much for me to
Yeah,
go, I'm going because
it's
he relies on so much on tries.
yeah, man. It's massive price tag. It's bloody ridiculous. Um, he started last year at 430. So, 430 this year doesn't get you a great deal. So, like he would have been a nice pick. I don't think anyone would have expected what he'd done last year. No one expected that from the Warriors in general. So, just with that alone, I would say I'd be very surprised if they can keep it going. Seeing Sean Johnson in a moon boot doesn't do you any favors when it comes to,
No,
any of that early season form. So it's not nice to see, but Sheck's a big addition. Whether or not it's his actual form, it's his just presence, I would say. Like having two of us a Sheck back at the club is going to just lift everyone, I would think, just naturally. So um, it's just too expensive. It's not even, I can't see it even being a viable option at all. Like he's probably going to have those games again, but there's 720, man. That's big coin. Val Holmes is that price. You know what I mean? Like Toto,
I know
at
who I'd
least,
choose.
yeah, guaranteed. You choose the guys that are,
Yeah.
can that have done it. Like it's not like Dallin's just popped his head out of the corner and been like, look at this guy. He's been around for a long time, man, and he hasn't done what he's done for a very, very long time, or if at all. I don't ever remember seeing Dallin in that kind of form. So um, maybe it's the permanent mullet.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got that strength, but
It
I,
glistens.
I
I love it. It
it
just
does it, and
glistens.
it bounces too when he runs. It's like it's so graceful to watch, and he
I
galloping
told
down
him
the
last
line,
year,
and
I
you just
go
see this. Oh
he actually put a, story up yesterday, I think, or the day before, he was with his kids and in the backyard, they had, like, a sprinkler system thing going,
yeah,
and I just said, "Mate," and it was just, like, all wet, it was just I go, "Ma, honestly, you gotta just
yeah, it's
you
glorious.
gotta
It
stop it."
is,
Like, he
man.
could do an OnlyFans just for his hair, and
Just mullet
I'd sign
snaps.
up.
Would you?
Oh, goodness, I would.
Yeah,
Like, that is gorgeous hair. That is there would be a lot of chicks out there jealous of what he has, so
it's
RTS though is
best mullet in
is
the
he an
league.
option? Oh, easy, hands down, 100%.
Yeah, I don't think that's even close. Is RTS an option? If RTS goes to fullback, he's an option. I
Ding,
want to
ding,
see
ding,
what.
we have a winner.
Yeah, I want to see what he can do at center.
I'm not
But look,
touching him
man,
yet.
you're not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know yet, man.
15% ownership.
Yeah, it's because he's two of us are Sheck, man. You see the guy, you see him back, and you think, oh, got to. I told you, it's gonna be a nostalgia pick. It has to be
Do you reckon the Warriors are the sexiest team in 2024? Bit off topic, but
sexiest. Um, I think they got
they've
a
got
fair
some
case to
talent.
point. Well, that's the thing. Like they've all got
Ooh,
flawless skin. They've all got nice tans about them. So,
yeah.
like, as far as it goes, like you look at someone like I don't know. You look at who can you make the comparison with? The Bulldogs. So just a
Yes.
mixed bag with the Bulldogs. Look at them all.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of misfits. You got big guys, you got little scrawny fellas running around. You got just it's all over the shop. And you look at the
Got
Warriors.
ringers.
Yeah, with mullets too, but just a bit straighter than like it's all different. But yeah, you look at the Warriors, man. Bunch of warriors in general. Bunch of just men.
Good
They'll just
looking men.
yeah. They'll
Glistening.
stop. They'll
When they get
stop a
sweaty
car
and
live
stuff, it
traffic.
glistens.
Yeah, and there's where are we going? Anyway,
They put beach snaps on the other day, and honestly,
I
it's
saw
enough to
there.
make
Yeah,
a
you made a
straight
post
man
about it.
turn, I'm telling you. Oh,
I don't know, mate. You're you're on the way. I tell you what.
I just I appreciate it. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
think we've got to, maybe it's this time of night, and we've been going for that long, I'm
we
just
hit two
a bit
hours.
cuckoo
We
this
hit
week.
2 hours recording, and it starts to turn a
There we
little bit.
go.
So yeah,
We're back.
we're back. All right, back into
Um,
it now. Little segue. I think Tuivasa Sheikh's got potential. Obviously, it's Tuivasa Sheikh. He has the potential to go. You know what he can do? Shit, he's done it forever. I just think he might be a potentially good pick. Um, whether or not he even needs to be a fullback, I feel like he's going to do some sort of like floating fullback thing. Like I just think naturally he's going to kind of be around there. I think he toyed on the wing a little bit before he left, and it kind
Wow.
of gave. Hey,
He won't be on the wing. No way.
no, but I think before he left in general, I think he
Oh
was just
yeah.
getting moved around, and it was sort of giving
He was
Shaz
winger of the
the
year.
yeah.
He got winger of the year one year.
So
So
like, it's not like he's not going to come into the center position and not know what he's doing. Like, I think he's going to be very, very capable of doing, what he's probably priced at. So I don't see the 15% being a bad ownership number for him because, it's just fun to have him in your team again. But again, it is a bit pricey for something that is completely unknown, but he's never had a bad year of averaging, really. I'd have to, yeah, I'd have to go and deep dive again to see his old stats because they're not showing at the moment because he wasn't there. So, um, look, it's not a bad start, really. I'd probably avoid it myself for just a little while. I wouldn't be surprised if I make an early swap onto him if he just explodes and I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I missed out on starting this Sheck. That was so dumb. As if
yeah.
you wouldn't start with him. And I'll be looking at it as a hindsight merchant, being like, oh, far out, man. That's one of those, have a look in the beginning of your season last year. What was the dumbest thing you did?
That's a
Really, when
clip.
if he just starts banging out 70s like Dallin was, as an average anyway, because he got, hundreds multiple times.
Yeah.
Shit, man. Should start with him. But he's had a good. I don't think the 539 is a bad price for him, honestly. I think if he was lower, I think if he was like 480, he would be so heavily owned.
Yes.
And if he was, closer to 600, if he was 590, I think you might see it down in maybe the 10%. But I still reckon a lot of people would be on him. So I think it's quite
Oh,
fair.
I'm on him.
Oh yeah.
I'm not on him for a
Oh,
super
not
coach
on
though.
for
I'm with
Supercoach.
you.
Just you're just on him.
I'm
He's got a
I'm with
poster of him in your
you.
bedroom.
I
Yeah.
yeah. Um um yeah, I just sort of I need to see how he comes back because we've seen it in the past with players and he has all the talent in the world, just coming back from a different code. Just let him get his feet wet, get back into it. As you said, if
Hmm.
something happens to bloody Nickel Clockstar, he's definitely an option. But yeah,
Oh, guaranteed.
that's that.
100%.
So
Sorry, man.
5'8", nah,
Yeah.
you're right. 5'8", Luke Metcalf, 483. With the other options around at the moment, I just don't think he's an option. So I'm happy to just
Metcalf.
sort of yeah.
Um, Sorry, it looks like I'm just doing other stuff. I'm just trying to grab a cable. My phone's about to die as well. I don't mind Metcalf for that position, really, man. Yeah, I know it's been a while. Um, for his price tag, I don't mind it at all because I don't think he's going to be losing that spot at all. And I think he's got a lot of upside, but again, like he played 12 games, he's got his average at the moment. But I think he starts and does what he does. But yeah, not a great deal of upside, but I think for 480, like you could do worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't think
that's
he'll
fair.
do much different to what like a Burton might get you on a pretty consistent occasion, and he's 100K less than him. So um, for that, yeah, it's pretty good. And the thinness at 5'8", it's there already. You say it every single year. There's just no good 5'8" besides the top three. Not saying he's going to be a top three 5'8" at all. No, probably not even close to it. But he's not priced as a top three 5'8". He's at 480. So Dylan Walker's not far off, and I would much prefer to have an actual 5'8" that starts and plays. Who like he can do it. And the thing is, like, if Estre's going to be injured, or if he's going to be taking a bit of that workload off him to start the year, it actually could be all right. But
Yeah.
again, man, it's just one of those plays. If you've run out of cash, maybe
Yeah.
not
No,
bad.
I agree. Dylan Walker and Tamari Martin, I don't see as real big players for Supercoach this year. So happy to skip past their halfback. Chanel Harris Tavita is priced at almost bottom dollar, 238K. And I know you said that Metcalf has that locked in position, but I think Chanel Harris Tavita could maybe become a 5'8", sneaky option for the Warriors. Not early, bit more once again, let him get his feet wet and the like, but he's one to keep an eye on at that very bottom dollar price tag.
Mm.
Sean Johnson is a quick talking point in terms of just, is he a realistic option for someone who's looking at avoiding maybe the Hines or Cleary for whatever reason, maybe it's to free up a bit of money. He's priced at 793K, averaged 77 points last year. My argument for this one is I originally was all for Johnson. I actually had him in my first team I actually picked this year. And then I quickly realized he was freaky last year. Like, he was next
Yeah.
level. And the thing is, he struggled to go with Hines or Cleary consistently last year. Like, even with the average there at 77, like, for mine, it just seems like a no-brainer. You need at least Hines or Cleary, if not both. So for mine to start this year, Johnson isn't an option.
No, I don't think he's an option really. Not considering what we know about him right now anyway. Um, if you really want to go against the grain and not have Cleary or Hines, realistically, you're probably not going to be up there too high on the overalls. It's just the way of the game, you know what I mean? Like, you can go against it as much as you want and spread the wealth out, but like, they're the high scoring players for a reason. And it was SJ's best year in a long, long time, and he still averaged like 20 points less than Hines did. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, there's different levels of these guys. They're just nuts. And that was a standout year for him. He's I just don't see the value up anymore for him. He was great last year because he was so cheap to begin with. Because again, like, he hadn't been doing it for a long time. Um, his starting price last year was 450, 456, 456. So man, 456. Imagine getting a 450K
Get that.
halfback as good as SJ at the moment. Like, you don't really have that right now. So there's his appeal. He went up a lot in cash, and it was just fun to ride with the Warriors because they were just doing this stuff, and it was so good to watch. And everyone was all about it. Literally everyone in this whole league was just wanting to see the Warriors do good.
What's up, baby?
What's up? I think that he has kind of hit his peak, really, as far as like a price goes, and potentially even what he could do. Like, at his very best last year in that team, you saw what he'd done. And he had those games where he scored like 150 points. He did it maybe 5 times. Yeah, these other two are doing it almost every other game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
I know.
yeah,
It's basically,
yeah.
you know who you got to go. Like,
You
it's
just you just got to
we
do it,
could
and
we
that's
could
that's not including any of his potential injury risk, which he's had every single year. Like, he's had an injury, his hamstrings have done something, or he's whatever's happened. He's been injured every year. Um, he just didn't really have
and
to
that's
worry
when
about that last
Chanel
year.
could become a that's when
Yeah,
Chanel could become an option. If there is an injury
yeah,
to Johnson, then I do look at Chanel a lot, and
mm,
I'll go pretty much straight away because compared to all the other bottom dollar sort of halfbacks and 5/8s in that sort of this year, I know I'm pretty much most confident in Chanel because he's been there, done it before, and he's actually he's a good player. Like,
mm.
he's a talented player, and around he will have arguably one of the most talented backlines in the competition at his disposal next year. So if he was able to get in there and get at least like a 10-game run or something, I reckon he could generate some decent cash there. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's definitely a sneaky one if Johnson goes down.
yeah. If Johnson goes down, obviously, like, naturally you would expect him to come back up because Volkman's not there, with his whole thing going on. So,
Oh, where
um,
is he?
oh
No one
mate,
knows.
he's gotten absolutely stitched
Unfortunately,
up. Poor bloke. He had
yeah.
a deal with him, and now he's got nothing, and now he's got to pay for his own bills, his medical bills. So it's kind of, he just got shafted, absolutely shafted. Feel sorry for him.
Welcome to the real world. You got to pay
Yeah,
for these surgeries, guys.
yeah.
But yeah, I do feel for Paul Volkman. It's not a situation to laugh at, I don't think. But yeah,
No.
it's
Um, but like, I'll just quickly touch on what you'd mentioned with like Chanel, with his potential cash price option, because I know you're very hot on going with Cleary and Hines to start with. That basically puts you out of contention for every one of these little up and down cash movers, because do you want to trade away from one of them? No. So you got to just own it now,
That's all right.
because there will be
That's
halves that will come up and down, and they'll do that, right? And you think, okay, if you've got the one gun and you're going to leave him in there forever, you can kind of cycle the second one over and over if you find that value up and down. But if you've got Hines and Cleary, you'd be mad to sell one of them to get Chanel Harris to
You know
Viva,
what
even
the
though
I
you're banking probably 700K, maybe
that
600. That's a shitload of cash. Um,
you know what the ideal would be? I'll tell you right now. I don't want it to happen. As a rugby league fan, I do not want it to happen. But I'll go Cleary and Hines. They get me away to a flyer. I'm sitting pretty overall, and the head-to-head leads the like. And then I don't know, 7 weeks into it, one of them gets an injury. I obviously don't ever wish this upon a player. And then then a Johnson goes down as well, and then Chanel comes along, and as you just said, oh, downgrade, free up 700. And then you start to play. Then you start to play Supercoach. And then you're like, hang on. Look at the Fafita, look at Tino, look at the likes. Like, that's when you start lighting up and you start going, all right, we're
yeah,
looking good here. But obviously, you'd never want to wish that, but that would be sort of those dream scenarios. But you are right.
worst resort.
I
Yeah,
locking myself into two players, but I'm happy to lock myself into those
yeah,
two.
yeah, and they're the best two for a reason. And that's the thing when you look at SJ and go, he's just at his very, very best. He still wasn't there. Yeah, and it's tricky now. You see him walking around and he's injured, and you're thinking, shit, is it already started? Like, are we already expecting this out of SJ? I don't know. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I really like the player. I wish him all the best, and I don't think he's got a great deal left in him. Um,
Could be his last year.
it could be his last year. I don't think he does what he did last year. Realistically, man, it was a hell of a year for him. Um, I could only see it going down, unfortunately. Whether it's price or points or overalls or a bit of both, or it's a little bit more inconsistent and patchier. Yeah, he'd have to go right down into the 600s, 500s for me to try and get on him again. Or the
Yeah.
other two
No.
maybe don't become an option, but it's just there's a lot of ifs, man. I probably won't do it again because I had him last year and I really enjoyed it because he did really, really well. But it was kind of towards the back too because he did a consistent job, 70s, 70s, and he had those really big 150 games, but they were at the back end. They weren't consistent throughout. So yeah.
No, I agree. Let's get into the forwards, and with the forwards, I'm basically just going to throw them both together, front row forward and second row, because the reason I say that, I look at the options and I think they basically just are straightforward. In a way, I think they're all pretty much sort of priced at about what you're going to get from them.
Mm.
Unfortunately for the Warriors this year, I don't feel like there's really a cheap option yet because again, like the Titans, for instance, they've got quite an experience and some depth in the forwards, so we just sort of know who's going to get those spots. Um, Cape will obviously come over for the Broncos, priced at 548 though, and there's just I think with the fact that there is some mid-tier options that are a bit cheaper and probably generate some more points than that, he's not really the option. Jackson Ford was great last year.
Mm.
Can he continue that? That will be the question. Tohu Harris at 680 is always just one of those guys that floats around. Average last year 66. Again, was one of those that sort of seemed to get some injuries or be playing just purely busted. Like he
Yeah, he
just
was.
seems to. He's the definition of a warrior. That bloke. He
Yeah.
is just doesn't stop somehow, and he just looks like you
No.
look at him and you're like, he's like if he was a machine, you just say stop using it. Just let it rest
Yeah,
and relax. Just
I
like
know.
just put it away in the corner.
Yeah, he's blown a gasket. There's steam coming out of him, and things are popping off the sides. But yeah, he's busted, man, all the time, and he doesn't change what he does. He's insane. Um, you think eventually it's got to take its toll on the poor bloke because he's always bandaged up. His whole body's wrapped up. He's freaking mummy out there, and he just keeps doing it. He plays insane minutes too. So, um,
Does.
yeah, he's a beast, man. I think for draft, excellent. I think if you could have the choice to have someone else, you probably would because it pains you to go out there and you don't think he's ever going to come off really because he doesn't seem to, but he does always just freaking have to get wrapped up somewhere. So They are kind of priced, where they're going to do their job. There isn't any cashies anymore. Jackson Ford was the last one. He was in the 280s or something when he started last year, so it was really nice. That's what I mean, man. We were blessed last year with how many freaking cashies we had. Took it for granted. Now there's none left.
AFB.
AFB, yeah. Just what a year from the bloke. Just saw so many tries. I rode every single league wave with him. I drafted him. I had him in Supercoach. I had him in fantasy. I loved it, and it was just because I think he was actually pretty cheap, really, for
Yeah.
where he sort of come. He would have been in the 500s, 550s. So it was nice to have, but unexpected form, man. Just immense player out there, and very reliant on those tries to keep up with the likes of your Haas and your Tino and stuff, who he was categorized with. Very, very try dependent. So, the effort's there, but he needs that try to get him up into that next group, and that's where he's been priced. He's been priced just as pretty much where Haas is, and doesn't do the same amount of load as Haas does. He scores more tries. He scores more tries last year than Haas did, but that's you can't rely on that when you're thinking about where someone's average falls in. You can never rely on someone to score a try. But for a front rower, they're not expected to. It's more so about what everything else they do in the game. If he can keep the tries flowing, shit, he's back in. We're back on AFB, but it's a big if.
There's still some temptation. There's 7%, but in that position, that is a decent number. 740K though.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to
I
spend
just
on a
feel like
front
if you're
rower.
going that, you're
But
going Haas.
well, exactly, and you're not going to have both, man. I don't see that sort of value immediately being a priority for your front rowers. I think down the line, you do want to get those two guns in that spot, and you're just going to run with them for a long time. But straight out of the gates, I think having, $1.5 million tied up in two players in your front row, it's too much value to have just, relying on their base stat, because you can't expect them to score those tries all the time. But, it's not to say you can't get 70 and an 80. Like he might reach his price and his average, and his break even's probably going to be very, very flat. But
Yes.
again, you just got to hope he doesn't get injured, because he has had that thing going the last few years.
And where his headspace is at with these, obviously his family issues back in
Well, yeah,
Sydney
he's
that he needs
already
to
announced that he's
come back
moving back
for.
too.
So
So that's
you
another
never
thing
know
to
with that.
consider. Yeah, I didn't really think too much about that, to be honest with you. But now that you bring it up, um,
I've got him in the know.
yeah, for the time being, I would say so. I'd like to see some good form out there before I make the switch. But even still, yeah, I don't know. I think he's just priced out a bit too far at the moment for me to see him as a good option. If he was, yeah, if only he was 550, but not with
Let's
that, not with
let's
that.
finish let's finish with a hooker. Not a bad way to finish the night, I guess. So um Wade Egan,
Shit.
576K. It's late. We get to this stage, and you said we get a little bit loose, but for us now, it's 11 and 10 o'clock. So,
Yeah,
we are pumping along. Last bit, Egan, is he an option for again the non Harry Grant owner? He was, I think he rode a bit of the success last year of the Warriors.
yeah.
576. I just can't ever see myself saying I'm going to start with Wade Egan at 576K.
No, Wade Egan's big
Doesn't
appeal was the
seem
fact that
logical.
he wasn't that expensive. Like he's the fifth most expensive hooker. Um, But he started around 500 too last year, so that didn't change. It was just his very early season form. He scored maybe 4 or 5 tries in a row, or something like that. He was averaging very, very well for the first, I think, five or at least 5 games, because I had him in my draft
Yeah.
team in NRL, and he was actually my very, very, very late bench hooker pickup in my draft league. So he was on no one's radar.
Handy.
No one
Handy.
wanted him. Yeah, it was almost to the point where I was like, I don't even want him off the waivers. Um, But as a hooker, obviously he has value because there aren't too many good ones. So as a backup for that, fair enough. But now he's priced up very high. He's more expensive than Robson, and I've got mad raps on Robson. So for that alone, no. For the amount of injuries he copped last year, throat injury, concussions, this and this and this. It was just all random stuff too, but it was pretty consistent. Enough to just be like, no, I don't want to do it again. I do not want to do it again because it's going to be
Another
patchy.
one just throws his body around. Another
Yeah,
one
he
of
just
those
gets his
Warriors
head in
players that
very
just
awkward
yeah.
spots. Because he played 3, he missed 1. He played 2, he missed 2 or 3. He played 3 and missed 2. He played 2 and missed 1. So it was just, you can't string a straight line of games together from him. And that you definitely don't want that because that price at 570, he's your starting hooker. Be it not Harry Grant, Cook, Marshall King, any of those other guys. Like that's the coin that you're spending for the main guy. But if your main guys can only play 2-3 games at a time, you do not want to have him on. So I think it was kind of the same as the Reed Marnie thing, where Marnie might not have been any good, but at least he played every game.
Yeah.
Because it was between the two. I remember it pretty clearly. They were both kind of, half on at that time, and you thought, oh, which one is it, one or the other? If you're going to make a late swap for anyone, I think I had Marnie because I didn't want to do Egan because I had drafted Egan in a different league and I wasn't super fresh on going all in on him. So I went with Marnie for a little bit, and admittedly, he played basically every game, barring 2 or 3 for the year, but they weren't exciting games. So got off that one pretty quick after. So yeah, it's just too much coin to spend really for that.
Yeah.
If you can make that many points about one thing, I think the choice has already been made. It's maybe just not worth it. But I look at Wade Egan for 576, and for literally 3K more, you got Blake Brayley, who is just so consistent, so far from injury, and no
An
origin.
option.
He's literally gonna play every single minute of every single game. He's much more of an option for the same price with
No,
the Sharks
I
run to
agree.
begin
And
with too. So yeah, if he was, a lot of ifs. I can say if he was cheaper 1,000 times, but if he was cheaper, I wouldn't look at him. It still puts him in a weird bracket. Yeah, I don't know. I need to see some miracle stuff coming from him again to see him, but he just got to string a few games together. But I don't think, what's his
no,
ownership? 3%. Yeah, 3%. That's fair.
again, I can't believe we've spoken so much on Wade Egan, but here we are. We've found a way to do so. But I'm with you. I'm going to just wipe the hands off with that one and just say for mine, Wade Egan, no. But guys,
Sorry.